Alright, so getting started with the second lesson of creating a simple web form for ASPX pages in Visual Studio C#. We're going to continue on to different various types of inputs that you can use in a form type setting. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is we're going to drag on a checkbox list, and we're going to do the same thing that we did in the previous video, and we're going to go over to absolute, and we're going to click on that so that this box is capable of being moved around. Next, we're going to add in a drop-down box, or a drop-down list rather. Just bring that over there, and same formality. And the last thing that we're going to do is add in a RadioButtonList. So 3 different types of lists that you can use on a web form for really various different types of inputs. So on most web forms, what you do is typically put a label right above it so that they kind of knew, the user knew a little bit about what the input will be. So I'm just going to quickly go ahead and do that. And now I'm just going to go ahead and add in some simple text to identify what the labels of each type should do. Alright, I'm pretty sure I spelled preferred wrong, but it doesn't really matter for the intents and purposes of this project. But essentially I'm just putting in label names so that we know kind of what we're working with. And then we can kind of go ahead and start to manipulate them. So for checkbox, we're going to go into the there's 2 different ways that you can add in data to kind of all 3 of these, but the easiest way is to just click on the actual entity itself and then hover over this little arrow right here and click that. You're going to go ahead and click items, and now you can go into add. So for the contact, it was pretty much whether or not the user entering this information wanted to be contacted or not. Quite literally, there's no reason that they would fill out this form and not want to be contacted, but you know, maybe it's just a survey, right, and they don't want to get contacted afterwards. So we'll just do yes or no as the choices. So no, and then this will auto-populate itself in that field for value once you click in, once you type in the text value. So yes and no are the 2 options. We're just going to move this stuff down for styling reasons. Also, too, the absolute styling feature, you can only do that on one entity at a time, which is a little tedious, but most web pages are designed in CSS, a cascading style sheet, more often than not. So typically you wouldn't really do that anyway. It's not, for the most part, good programming design for web development. But we'll do the same thing here for business type. I'm actually going to move this back up a little bit. And so we'll just say, well, maybe we'll do 3 different types of businesses. Maybe we'll do retail, food, who knows, and I don't know, we'll do technology. Technology and retail could sometimes go into the same thing, but it doesn't really matter. And preferred contact, this is just I figured whether or not they would be like to be contacted with maybe their home phone, maybe their email, personal cell phone number. So those are just the 3 types I'm going to add in. So we'll do cell phone, home phone, email. And then just to kind of, so they don't fall into 2 lines, just kind of spread out that little spacing right there. And we're going to drag the submit button down to the bottom here, make it look a little bit better. Now I just want to show you what it looks like on the source end. And you can add them in. This is the other way of populating each and every one of those different types. But you can populate the checkbox with, in here by simply just copying and pasting another one of these lines. And if you know the syntax itself, you can just begin by saying, by typing this out as well. So maybe we'll throw maybe in there as an extra option. So you can see that there is another way of manipulating this data, as well as you can programmatically fill it once the web page gets executed through an outside database that will show you in later videos once these lessons start to get more complicated. So we'll continue on, and just pull this down, and we will run it. All right. There we go. Now it does look a little wonky here, but that's mainly just styling, so you can still see that you're able to click no. Gavin, we'll add that back in. Business type, let's say food. Preferred contact, maybe your home phone, and then just click submit. And because this was triggered to our previous program with whether or not it got validly entered, that label did get changed to entered, but say we take this back out and that will be not entered. So this is just adding some more different types of input styling. In the next video, we'll be displaying the user's input values that they selected back out on the screen so that they can see what it was that you selected. So stay tuned for video 3, lesson 3, and I hope you learned something successful today.